conversation starts in full. Just stay tuned to us. Welcome back to the sunny side. We're talking the growing business of education. So, in my area, I would say on my street alone, we have about 3 churches on my road. There's one very popular one that has branches in almost every street. There is one other one not popular and another one not popular as well. What did I discover? On Monday after work, I was driving home. One of the churches, in fact, 2 of them are beside each other at the entrance of my road. I know how small the church is, obviously. I don't need to go inside the church to see it. When they leave their doors open, you can literally see the inside of the church. It's a bungalow, right? And you can tell the structure of the church was quite... I'm sure they relied on members of the church to, just help put the blocks. And then I knew the day they painted the church was solely because a member of the church was getting married there. And the person wanted to use the church as a reception venue as well. So they had to just paint it. I saw a small, what's it called? Banner. Maybe that's what you could call it. Is it flex or banner? Saying admission into pre-nursery, nursery, primary, GSS 1 to GSS 2. I say, could it be that, okay, this church now, they have acquired another property, and that is the place they want to do this school? Because I could tell the member strength of that church. We're not a lot of members, all right? Could it be that? Well, if that is the case, kudos to them. And I left it at that. And I see, to be honest, I said I would not believe that they will put a school in this building. But my greatest surprise was, yesterday, after the sunny side, I was on my way back home. I have seen that they have used them drawing something to draw. You know, all these schools now, they used to draw things that will attract children, like ball, you know, this is a girl, all those things they used to draw. I had seen it on the building, and I said, I still do not want to believe that it is in this place that these people want to start this school. Ladies and gentlemen, as I pass small like this, I just use my side eye like this and peep inside. I saw these boards they used to partition. Let's assume there's a big hall. They just the board. I don't know what are those called. Anybody, a furniture maker? I think you'll be the one to help. They're boards now, but they will have two long legs. Then they will now hit something on it like this. Is what they now use to separate and form classrooms. And then I saw one lady with one table and chair. And I saw books on the table. And I saw one cup that had pencil, eraser, red biro, black biro, blue biro inside. And I said, God. So, in my head, I'm like, okay. Initially, the missionary brought schools to Nigeria the same way they brought Christianity to Nigeria. No problem. And for the longest period of time, we have had missionaries or churches running schools. The earliest will be the Catholic churches with Catholic schools, most likely attended by members of the Catholic Church and people that were non-Catholics as well, including people from other religion, okay? So we'd have some famous schools, like in Port Harcourt here, I think there's Our Lady of Fatima, there's which, but it was not strange to me to see churches venture into education. No. We still have some Pentecostal churches that run schools as well. In River State alone, I can think of so many of them. We have one of them which is free. We have another private one. We have several of them. Sometimes they will not outrightly be run by the churches, but we would have members of the church or the founders of the church or pastors in the church venture into the educational sector. The development of every society, we have always said, is hinged around education. True or false? And like I said in my intro before we went on the break, the business of education is the business of our future. And within its field and scope, the minds of an entire generation, yet unrealized, are being sculpted, refined, and polished. While its practice is timeless and ubiquitous to human society, it's only been within the last couple of centuries that an identifiable market has grown around the institution of education. While schools are being created to meet a need or solve the problem of illiteracy, is it anyone, and I mean anyone, that should venture into owning a school? See, a lot of people would prefer a private school to a government-owned school anytime, any day because of the quality of education they offer, the infrastructure, and the opportunities that will be available to the graduates of that school afterwards. However, should anybody, just anybody, who feels like, hey, let me start a school, do the same thing this particular church did, as I have described. This is not the first time I am seeing it, but it shocks me that in 2024, people are still doing this. So let's assume that people choose to enroll their children in those schools. How can we tell that their sole purpose is to educate the students? What are the chances that it is only about making profit? And they don't care if knowledge is impacted. Now, you open that kind of school in that kind of area, how many teachers are you going to employ? What are the chances that one teacher is not teaching mathematics, English, CRUK, home economics, English, and the rest? What are the chances that these teachers will indeed pay attention to each child's unique strengths and abilities and think of how to build on them and think of how to fill in the gaps in areas where they are lagging behind? Are they solely in it just for the profit? Collect school fees, pay teachers, running costs, and then the profit. Ladies and gentlemen, the two questions I'd like to ask today are pretty simple and straightforward. Can you tell when a school is solely in existence for monetary profit? Now, this is me not saying that it's not okay to make profit from doing education as a business. I mean, if you're going to invest in so much, if you're going to buy in computers, if you're going to build a structure, if you're going to get quality teachers, if you're going to get things for laboratory, if you're going to get school, it's a lot of money. It's a huge investment. And trust me, someone who has made that kind of huge investment is expecting some form of return on investment later on. But should it be the profit overall, or should it be the future? Should it be how much knowledge and the quality of knowledge and the kind of knowledge that will be transmitted or that will be impacted or that will be given to the next generation that will eventually turn out to be our future as a society? Now, the second question is simple. What would you regard as the minimum standard for quality education in a private school? Since a vast majority of you have said if you can afford it, send your child to a private school. But what is the barest minimum that you would take and say, okay, for what I am paying, this is good. If I can get this from my child, I'm okay. I can rate this school as giving XYZ% when it comes to quality education. 0817 923 0002 0817 923 0003. Again, 0817 923 0002 and 0817 923 0003. WhatsApp and Telegram number is 0809 030 6416. Turn down the volume of your radio set as you call. Be audible so we can hear you on X. We are at Nigeria Info PH. And our Facebook page remains Nigeria Info 92.3 PH. Nigeria Info, good afternoon to you and welcome. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Gigi.
Good afternoon.
My name is Perez Aya.
Perez Aya, you're welcome.
Actually, I so love this topic that you brought. Because, you see, most times when a governor came out with a policy, people will say he is bad. When Wike said, before you will operate a school, you must have up to 3 plots of land before you can operate one arm. People tend him to be a bad governor. Yes, actually, so many people were operating with 1 plot before. If you're into a school, you will know that 1 plot of land is not enough to operate 2 arms of school, like nursery and primary. Talk less of secondary. Junior secondary school alone is more than operating in 1 plot of land. Talk less of small church. Somebody will just come out and write nursery, primary, secondary. It's an insult. Very big insult. So the standard of education, the standard for raising up business, people don't know about it. They thought it's just bringing children, gathering children. Even in the aspect of keeping those children, these are people's future. You bring them, you can't even, you yourself as a teacher, you have not even taught yourself. You have not even learned. There are questions you can't answer. You not bring out board and chalk and start teaching other people. It's very bad. I think the government have to rise up again to their obligations. Because just as you ask, what is the standards for starting a school? Yeah, the Bible says nobody should despise the small beginning. Yeah, but not in one room. At least one plot of land. You start with nursery and primary. It's ideal. Somebody would see it and say, well, it's just starting up. Okay. Not starting up with one plot of land, writing up to secondary. What kind of...
It's okay. Calm down. Calm down. Jeremiah Organ says, hello, Denise. You can tell by the school environment and the class and also the teacher's dress code. The school environment, the class, and also the teacher's dress code. Now, I'm looking at a very interesting message on X, and it's from @Senibo1. When a school refuses your siblings to use the same textbooks with you after graduating to a higher class, then that school is out for making money and not educating the people. The pupils, I beg your pardon. When a school refuses your siblings to use the same textbooks with you after graduating to a higher class, then that school is out for making money and not educating the pupils. Okay, this other one says, I'm Shoki Fubara from Port Harcourt. Many private schools everywhere. The question is, are they government approved? Why didn't I add that part? Why didn't I add that part? Is the government even aware that there's one school at Rumaholu like this now? A small space can serve for nursery, primary, and secondary. So the main thing is to get a quality school that is government approved. If for any reason you can't afford the approved school, if for any reason you can't afford the approved school and you subscribe to the small space school, then you will need some extra lessons to help your children gain more knowledge. If you should put a price on quality education, many parents will not be able to afford it, sadly. Nigerian folk, good afternoon. Welcome and go ahead.
Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
It seems you are now shopping for school for our guests, too.
I'm what?
You are shopping for school environment for our guests.
Shopping? I don't understand.
As in looking for school, you will put her now, Nadi.
It's the 2025.
You don't mean it.
2025. She has to get to 3 years.
That's good. This way, on a lighter note now, let me be honest to you. By definition or by cliche, education is the bedrock of the society, right?
Yeah.
Which means education is like a gasoline that helps to run the present and the future of a nation. The kind and the level of quality education you give your people determine their progress, determine their happiness, determine their well-being. For a second, why should we have private schools? They are there to make money. Nothing more, nothing less. To make money. And the more they keep doing this, the more they keep dividing and causing more harm in the society. Years back, when the missionaries were in charge of education, what was the level of crime rates? Take over the school by the government. How was the well-being of the people? Compared to today, there's a proliferation of private primary, secondary, university mentions. Any proprietress or proprietor in Nigeria is not a compatriot. Does not love this country. They are after to make money and they are causing us more harm. If the government is still releasing more licenses to private universities, approving more secondary and primary school, check the person in charge. They have their own private school somewhere, and they are destroying the government-owned school, which we call the Unity School. I want to use this medium to beg our people. And for the love of money, that environment we should not joke with, which is number one, the level and the provision of education. Go to the street of Port Harcourt now. See teenagers are now into adult activities. What was the problem? Poor educational sector. Because their principals, the proprietors, everybody is there to make money. They don't care. But imagine the harm it's causing us now. We are now spending billions on security instead of spending billions on education. Some even resolve in buying certificates just what? I am a doctor or philosophy or whatever. They are not people that love this country. Anybody that loves this country will not open a private school. If you so have the money, you will use that your money to go and equip the government school that you graduated from, that educated you from your kindergarten to that level. If you share the level of our love of money, we are causing a lot of harm. Mr. Zion.
Thank you so much, Mr. Zion. You said quite a lot. Are we still going to go about the public schools versus private schools debates? Come on. Let's be realistic here. If you check through time, you will discover that anything private investment versus public investment, one of them had always thrived better. I take Nigeria Info for instance. I'm not throwing shades or anything, but there's a reason why you would always listen to us. It's the quality that we give. Sometimes I walk into the studio and the equipment in this studio alone, oh my God, that you can watch us live from anywhere in the world and listen live from anywhere in the world, something had been put into it. So while we are here talking for development, while we are here informing you, educating you, and entertaining you, hello, the person that invested gas recuperate somehow. Salaries have to be paid somehow. So it's the same thing with education. Someone decides to put in a whole chunk of money to ensure that the children get the very best. If the person in turn gets profit, is it a crime? Doesn't it make sense so that the business can continue to run? If some of you do not give these guys their credit, guess what? They will be out of business. And then we are back to the government schools, which over the years have been poorly funded, lacking teachers, lacking conducive learning environment, lacking monitoring, lacking a whole lot of things. So what are we not saying? Again, we're talking the growing business of education, and I am asking two questions. What would you regard as the minimum standard for quality education in a private school? And can we tell when a school is solely in existence for monetary profit? So, educating will be number one. But then again, Who says they cannot make profits at the end of the day? And everybody is happy. It's a win-win. All right? In an ideal society, such an environment as you described should not be used for educational purposes. But I can tell you for free that why those things are happening is because of poverty. So many people can only afford schools at that level. Without such schools, children of the poor may not know how to read and write. Solutions to this menace is to tackle poverty. Poverty is real. Godwin Asian, send that in. Nigerian Info, welcome to the sunny side. Go ahead.
Can you hear me? My name is Ashton Caroline.
You're welcome to the show. Go ahead.
School is good. Government school is also good. But somebody called.
I'd like for you to speak up. I can barely hear you, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but I'd like for you to be more audible.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Now, somebody called and said, is it an approved school? The private school, whichever the private school is it approved? But how can you set a standard when you don't have standard? You must go into a government school, check the standard of that government school. It must be higher than the private school. That's what they're saying. So if the private wants to be the government, the private must be 2 times higher than the government school. That's the problem. Because the government is not showing the pay. The government environment is bad, bush all over the places. They don't pay teachers. The last review did not pay. There was no promotion, no areas. If you want to type with some paper, no machine, no light, no desk, nothing in the government school. So how can you create standard for private school to follow? So if the private school come up have two plots, they can try because even the government school don't even have seats. Don't even have roofs. Some of them don't have roofs in some rural areas. The local government are not functioning. They are not doing anything. If somebody see where your child can stay and get a little education in a 2 classroom, you will go there and help his child and to go to that place. They're dilapidated. That's why the government of today is trying to put those primary schools in order. So let us be realistic. For now, the government schools are just coming to meet standards. And they have to create a high standard for the private school to come up. Just like you said, your studio is now more better than the government studio. It's not that the government doesn't have the money, but they have not created standards for that. Those who are there have not been highly funded. Your private schools is highly funded. The equipment of today is there. You can digitalize any time. You can do whatever you want to do. The buttons are there. The lights are there. A studio is running, there will be no light. You want to run generator. If there is no fuel, no funding, what they call overhead, how can the studio run? Let us be realistic. The government is not leading. That's why we're begging the governor of today to please inject for me education properly so that the society will be okay. The government is like the God. We are seeing they are the father. That's not the truth. They are not creating standards, so they can't go and issue any standard to any private school. It's a fact. Thank you and God bless us. I'm Caroline from Okrika.
All right, they cannot issue standard to any school because their own standard is not standarding. Anyway, my name is Susan. I will look for the environment, and the proprietor's children must also attend the school, and it must be government approved. I have seen a lot of schools carry their signage writing government approved, but guess what? They are not. And some of them get away with some of these things before the monitoring and regulation agencies will fish out that school, years have gone by. They must have collected school fees. They must have been running the schools for several years. Good afternoon, Denise. We must not limit this conversation to only private schools. Same is happening in government schools where pupils sit on uncemented floors and a derelict building to learn. For me, the minimum standard of education is private and government schools should be. The students in that school should have access to computers and the internet. There should be a football field and other sporting facilities in the school. People using shops and uncompleted buildings for schools must be put to an end. Oh, yes. I had seen that, I think somewhere along Iwafe. Uncompleted building. How did I know a school was happening there? I heard the children singing nursery rhymes as I wound down. Oroja is dead and gone to his grave. Or you will hear something like, good morning, Auntie, we are happy to see you. God bless you. I said, is this a school? What stone fell on a student's head and the student was bleeding seriously. We'll come back to this after the break. Stay tuned.
Nigeria Info will be right back.
People share fake news.
The child's head and the child was bleeding. And while I fought the school for even starting in the first place and using an uncompleted building, the parents that did not see the hazard of enrolling their child in such a school. And yes, someone mentioned poverty. But with poverty, can't we find something befitting for whatever it is we can afford? So back to the message. People using shops in uncompleted buildings for schools must be put to an end. This is 21st century, and the era of using the whole day to draw grasshoppers while those in Western countries are using computers for everything must be put to an end. Secondly, any school that refuses to provide basic amenities, teachers, and environment for learning will be considered to have been manufactured for profit purposes and as such should be closed down by the authorities. Using same textbooks by your siblings, even our lecturers, are first-hand culprits in this crime. You don't buy their textbooks, they fail you. If you like, sell the same textbook in your shop. It remains immaterial to them and the government is watching. I don't know Bionye send that in. Good afternoon, Didi. Please, at what age should a child be enrolled in school? My daughter is 2 years. Her mates in my neighborhood have started school, but my present condition is affecting my child. Kemjika, I can't tell you what age. I know in UK, the children wait until 3 years to be enrolled. I feel like 3 years is fine. 2 years and some months is fine. I know that some people start enrolling their children from 1 year plus because of their busy schedules and all of that. Okay? I didn't start school till I was about 3 years plus, or even 4 years if I can remember correctly. My first school was St. Cyprian's Nursery and Primary School at Hospital Road. So it depends, alright? Sometimes I prefer the option of homeschooling for a while before enrolling my child. I want my child to be able to tell me that mommy, auntie did this or uncle did this to me before sending her to a school or sending him or her to a school. Didi, good afternoon, Lady Didi Ma. Happy New Year and thanks for this program. The lack of job brought all these people trying to make ends meet. A government school is not even more better. Some of our government schools are dilapidated and bad. Thanks. Chief Churchill says, if the government is doing their job, we'll not be having this conversation. The government keeps failing. That's why the private school will pass through hell just to keep up with the activities like buying books and paying other stupid bills. And every corner you look, there's one school somewhere where you hear kids singing what I don't know. Government, don't fail us, Sha. I wish we had more time for this conversation, but sadly, this is where it comes to an end. Wilma Akoma says, I think that the government, being the policymaker and implementer, it is hypocrisy to set standard for private schools when it cannot uphold those in public schools. Unfortunately, the private school churn out more competent pupils and students than the government wants. The infrastructure in private schools are generally poor, but the government wants and know better. A lot of overhaul is required in the educational sector. And this final one says, good afternoon, Didi. Please, this is a report that needs to be investigated. I put in a child in the school. Okay, we'll look at this later. Trending stories up next. Just stay tuned. And thank you for being a part of the conversation.
Set your time.